Well, hello folks. Welcome to Georgia Southwestern Fall Semester 2017 and to HR Staffing. This class is a very interesting class. It may not sound familiar to you if you're looking over prior curriculum sheets. It would have been called Advanced Human Resources, but we renamed it last year because staffing is really what the basis of this class is. And while it is certainly advanced in the sense of the things that we're going to be talking about and covering, we felt like advanced HR was really generic and could cover a lot of different things. And the focus of the class is how we find people and get them on board in our organizations, which is staffing. So it made sense that the title of the class reflect the content of the class. What I want to try to do in this video is talk through the syllabus with you, and I'll scroll through it as we talk. If you haven't printed it out yet, there should be a link to a Word file in our class. Hopefully it is right below this video or right above this video in the content section. And I'll encourage you to pause the video for a moment while you print the syllabus, and then you can make notes in the margins as we talk through this so that you'll remember what it is that you're going to be expected to do, what you'll have to do to be able to get the grade that you want. I'm assuming that you have printed that out and you've got a copy there handy. So let's kind of talk our way through this. First of all, on the front page, there's contact information for me. Here I am on campus in room 215. I can glance out the window and see a very pretty day today in the campus lake. I'm on the back side of the building, on the back side of the campus. If you ever happen to be on campus, come on by and see me. I am actually teaching classes in the classroom all 4 days, Monday through Thursday. So I'm here every day. And Friday, because normally we teach 2 days and have 2 days administratively, Friday is my administrative day. So I'll be here all 5 days of the week. If you ever happen to be coming through town and just want to see campus and meet a few professors, I should be in my office unless I'm actually in the classroom. I've given you my cell phone number, 938-0513. I will trust you to use it sparingly. I don't have it with me all the time. When I get home at night, I put it on the counter in the kitchen and I'll check it several times. Normally I'll hear it if it beeps because I've got a text message or something and I'll go pick it up. I get my email from school forwarded to my phone, so I should be able to reply to email and to text messages fairly quickly. Keep in mind though, if you send me a text message, that you'll need to tell me who you are. And you might even have to tell me that you're in the online HR staffing class. This is the only class I'm teaching online this semester, but I'm giving my cell phone number to students in other classes as well. So just identify who you are and that you are in the staffing online class when you ask me your question. As we scroll down here, we see that the purpose of this class is to give you an idea, as we said just a moment ago, about how we find people for our organizations and how we present to them the information for the jobs that they are interested in and make a determination as to which ones are going to fit well with our company. The objectives that you see, you'll be able to, upon finishing this class, to analyze a job and create a job description. And that's going to be one of the first things that we do. Actually, this will be the second thing that we do in the structure of our class. I'll give you the title of a job, and you, along with a partner, will go out and do some research online, go to the various websites that give basic job descriptions and responsibilities for types of jobs based upon title. And you'll create a job description that summarizes in a statement what the purpose of the job is and that lists the major activities that job will do, and then gives a little bit of information about who it reports to and where they find information. They have questions and what kind of travel is involved and weekend work and all those kinds of things and lifting and physical requirements. That then has a little section on the essential knowledge, skills, and abilities necessary to succeed, and then education that is required. I'll give you a template for that as you prepare it. And we'll go through a couple of versions of this. You'll give me something, I'll give it back to you with some ideas, you'll resubmit it, so forth. But you'll be able to analyze a job and create a really good job description. One of the real values of this class when you go into the working world of HR is that you'll be able to go to your bosses and say, listen, I wrote job descriptions in one of my classes in school, so when we get ready to rethink our job descriptions, I'm the perfect guy or gal for you to head up that project because I've done it. Second thing is to think about based upon what a job looks like, where do we need to go to find people to do this job? That's the sourcing part of staffing. In order to get the right people, you got to look in the right places. And depending on the job, you might go to a newspaper ad, or you might go to the Department of Labor, or you might go to a headhunter. And understanding the complexities of the job helps us to know where to go to look. So that's one of the first, actually the first big assignment that we'll do is based upon the job that you're going to be working on with your job description, look through a list of potential places we could go to find employees for this job and make a recommendation to me, just like you were making a recommendation to senior management of where we want to spend our money and our time to look for people to fill this job. The third thing is that we'll begin to learn how to create good questions for interviews, open-ended, behavior-based types of questions. As part of a large ongoing project with multiple steps in it in this class, you will submit to me with your partner a list of questions that you would ask a candidate for this job. And I'll give you, just like with the job description, some feedback on what you might do to tweak this thing to make it a little bit less discriminatory or potentially legally challenging. But you'll come up with a good list of questions, maybe 10 or 15 questions that you could fill up 30 to 45 minutes in an interview with. The fourth thing that we'll do in the objectives is to create a tool that we could use to assess our candidates. And what I typically have in mind when I do this is that you create a little template in Excel or something where you have various things that are of importance to you: education level, prior experience, the answers to individual questions that you would ask in an interview, intangible kinds of things, attitude, teamwork, all those kinds of things, where you rate them from 1 to 3 or 1 to 5. And then as you go through and interview 4 or 5 different people and you fill out this little template or this matrix on all these different people, you then at the end of your interviews have some tangible things that you can use to distinguish between your people to make a decision on who to hire. So you'll actually get the process and the opportunity to create a matrix that has the things on it that are valuable to you as you're going into the interview process. The fifth thing that you'll do toward the end of the semester is that we'll partner with the business communications classes here at GSW, both the on-campus classes and the online classes, and we'll give them the opportunity to sign up for interviews with you for the jobs that you're preparing for them. And you'll either depending on where you are, most likely you'll do it through a video conference call where you'll get, they'll dial into a video conference that you and your partner are already on, and you will do an interview with them that lasts 30 or 45 minutes where you'll ask them the questions that you came up with in point number 3 there of the objectives. And you'll assess them, and you'll actually make a decision on which one of these 4 or 5 or however many people it is we would offer this job to if we were really offering this job. And then number 6, the last objective, is that in the process of doing this, of interviewing these people, that you'll learn how to communicate with them effectively. A lot of great things that we do in this class. I really like this class. I'm really excited about this class. This is a class that we've taught in the past in different forms. A long time ago, this class was offered such that the students in this class interviewed nurses on campus who were getting ready to go out into the nursing world and gave them an opportunity to practice their interviewing skills, and gave us an opportunity to practice as well. That partnership with the nursing school kind of ended, and in order to give you the ability to practice your interviewing, you've probably been on interviews where you're the one answering the questions, but you might not have done as much where you're asking the questions. Regardless of whether you're in HR doing this or you're in management in general, you'll have the opportunity to interview people, and we want you to learn how to do it right. So we partner with the business communication students. They're in that class going to write their resume and their cover letters. They're going to get practice doing that and some feedback on that. And then we're going to partner them up with you to where they can actually be the one being interviewed, and they can have practice going through an interview and getting feedback on it. The book that we're going to use is by Phillips and Gully. I'm going to hold it up here. That's what it looks like. There's also a picture of it in a JPEG file in our classroom. It's kind of an odd-looking green. It's not a very thick book, but unfortunately it is gosh awful expensive. And I hate that. I really wanted to find you something that was kind of cheap. And last spring I went through an exhaustive effort to try to take this book, to pull out stuff that we're not going to use, to condense it down a little bit, and to get it in a format to where it would be hopefully under $100 for you, and ideally probably under about $70. And after all this long process, the publishers of this book came back and said, we're not willing to give you a copy to use teaching until your bookstore orders copies for the bookstore. And at the time, we didn't know how many to order. We never know really how many to order until the first day of class, maybe even until drop ad is over. So we said, just forget it. We're going to use the book the expensive way this time, but we're going to find a different book or create our own book outside of your publishing company, and we're not coming back to you again because you don't have our students in their best interests in mind. So the bad news here is the book that you're going to be using is really expensive. It's like $180 or something, I think, and I apologize for that. I really feel for you that you got to spend that kind of money on a book for this class. But I didn't really have any other alternatives, and I hope that you'll believe me when I tell you that I tried really hard to find you something that was affordable, and it just never did end up working out right. In addition to the textbook, for this class you will have 3 exams, and you're going to have to buy one of the bundles for ProctorU testing access codes through the bookstore. I don't know how much that costs. But those bundles, if this is your first experience with online business classes in ProctorU, you can save those things. If a class, for my class, they come in bundles of 3, and for this class there's 3 tests, so it's a 1-for-1 thing. But if you've got a bundle from the past where you bought 3 and you only needed 2, or the class had 4 tests and you had to buy 2 bundles, you can carry over one of those testing codes for this particular class. The last thing on the front page here, as I'm looking at our time at 11:30 on the recording, you need to have the ability to create good Word documents and good Excel documents. So make sure that your computer has got a good updated version of Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. I think I use Microsoft 16, I believe it is, but I can read 13 and 10. 13 may be more common. If you don't have a current version of Microsoft, send me an email, because as a GSW student, you've got access at no charge to you through GSW, the ability to download an updated version of the Microsoft products, and it may be more current than what you've got, and you may have to kind of learn it a little bit, but it's good stuff to have. In addition to the Word and Excel, you got to have a reliable internet connection to be able to test. You got to be able to have a video camera and a microphone with it. That's partly because we're going to do some online video conference calls in this class, you and me and the class. It's also because you're going to need to use that to do the interviews that are part of this class, and you're also going to need it to do the ProctorU. So make sure that you've got a good video camera. If you don't have one, you ought to be able to find one at Walmart or somewhere for $30. Shouldn't be too bad. Rolling on to page number 2. We have to tell the registrar's office who is actively participating in class, and there's a deadline to do that. The reason that's important is because they have to be able to communicate to the people who fund your education, the loans, the Staffords, the scholarships, all those kinds of things, whether you're participating or not. The only way that we have to measure that online is if you've done a couple of things for us early on in the semester. So you see at the top of page 2 here, there's an introductory quiz out there that is very simple. It's like, I've read the syllabus, yes, no. I'm asking you for an alternate email address besides your GSW and a cell phone number in case I ever have to get in touch with you. Also ask you, I think, what do you want to learn from this class? What seems interesting in the syllabus? So you have to complete that, and there should be a link to that in the introductory section of the content. And I also want you to post to a discussion board. It's the only discussion board that we'll have the entire semester. And all you're going to do is to tell me in the discussion who you are, where you are, in Damascus, Georgia, or Americus, or Atlanta, or wherever, where you are in process of the core curriculum. This is my next to last semester. I'm going to graduate hopefully in May of 18 or whatever, or I'm just kind of getting started or whatever. And maybe something of interest about yourself. I'm one of twins, or I'm one of 8 children, or I've been working. I'm in my 40s and I've been working for a long time or whatever. Just so we can get to know each other. All right, that's the only thing of real significance on page 2. So we're going to scroll down here. I've got a printed copy of this thing that I've highlighted the things I really want to talk about to make sure I don't miss it. Halfway down page 3 here is the schedule for the class. Now, I have gone through and broken up the chapters in our textbook into, in some cases, 3 different mini lectures, and in some cases 2. And we're not taking it in order. We're going to start, as you see, with chapter 1, and then we're going to jump to chapter 7, and then we're going to go back to chapter 4, 5, 6, and then we're going to do some parts of the book. Part of this is for from chapter 9 and chapter 11 or something like that, and talk about interviewing. Then we're going to do chapter 3, then chapter 9, then chapter 10, chapter 11, and then conclude with chapter 2. I've tried to break those things up into small chunks. And as you can see, there is a video lecture on each one of these things. They are generally anywhere between about 25 and 35 minutes long, so they're not real hard to watch in one sitting. But you're going to want to make sure that you watch those things. I'll tell you why in just a few minutes. At the end of each chapter unit, other than with chapter 1, when you finish chapter 7, there's going to be a quiz over chapter 7. Then you move on to chapter 4. You're going to have chapter 4 part A, part B, part C. When you finish part C, then you're going to have a quiz over all of chapter 4. Chapter 5 is in 3 parts. At the end of that, you'll have a quiz over chapter 5. Chapter 6 is over in 3 parts. When you finish the third of those, you're going to have a quiz over chapter 6 and so forth. The first test is not until October, so we're going to cover a lot of material before that first test. The second test is much shorter. It's only over 2 real units, the interview section in chapter 3. And then the third test is the final exam. And it is mostly over chapters 9, 10, 11, and 2. I don't remember whether I'm going back and pulling anything. I think I say later on in the syllabus that it is comprehensive, but I don't think that it is. I'll tell you for sure as we get closer. I'll try to post for you some things to think about as you're studying. In the activity here, I'm going to messing up my syllabus here. 7 different times during the semester, we're going to have updates on how you're coming with the steps of your project. I'll give you some more information about that later. You're going to have a recruitment plan. You're going to have a job description. You're going to have the questions for your interviews, the matrix, and then you're actually going to do the series of interviews and give me feedback on how that went. All right, hopefully that gives you a good idea on the timeline of this. There's never more than 2 lectures a week, and they are all generally about 30 minutes long. So you can afford to spend time on other classes when it comes to this class, because I've tried to pace it out. I'm also teaching this class on campus. I think there's only 6 students in there, but we're going to follow the same general schedule here. So I'm going to talk about the same little subsections of chapters in class that you're going to be listening to online. All right, going on to page number 4 here, the part that you're really interested in, a total of 970 points, but it's weighted on different pieces of it. So you're going to want to make sure that you get as many points as you can in each category, but really focus on the interviews here at 35%, the exams at 20% cumulative, and then the different pieces, the recruitment plan, the job description, the questions, the matrix, is a total of 35%. If you have to mess up on anything, the quiz is only going to combine for 5%, and those updates combine for 5%. So those are the areas where if you don't do well, it doesn't hurt you quite as much. Let's look at what those things involve here. We've already talked about how after each major section, except for chapter 1, there's going to be a quiz. Generally speaking, there's only going to be about 6 questions on there, but I think every single one of those quizzes, at some point in the quiz, as I'm doing the video lecture, and most of them, at least from the midpoint on, I'm actually showing you my PowerPoint here as I'm talking, just like you're seeing the big part of the picture with the syllabus and my picture in the corner. I'm going to be showing you my PowerPoint slides for the most part. I think I started that in my recording process midway through, and I've already recorded all these things. Somewhere in that video, most of the time, I'm going to hold up a little note card that says question for Philadelphia. And I'm going to say, this is the answer to question 4 on your quiz. So if you haven't watched these videos, when you come to that question on the quiz, you're going to have, what was the answer given to question 4 in the video? A, Philadelphia. B, daughter. C, diploma. D, angry. and you're going to go, I've got the foggiest idea what it was. It could be any of these things. There's going to be no logical sense to it whatsoever. But as you're looking at the videos for the chapters, print out the PowerPoint that I've got out there, or the note sheet, or whatever I put out there, and make notes in the margin as you go. And when I hold up one of those cards, write that down. And then when you get ready to do the quiz, you can have those PowerPoints with you. So you ought to be able to find the answers pretty easily. And you might have 4 or 5 questions, 6 questions that are legitimately questions from the book and from the lecture. And then 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 questions that are these cards that I hold up. And when there is a lesson that's like chapter 4, where there's a part A, part B, part C, there may be one of those cards in any of those 3, or they may all 3 be in one. Sometimes they're near the beginning, sometimes I pause in the middle, sometimes they're at the very end. So you really need to look at all of the videos from start to finish to be able to do this. Hopefully it'll be fun. It'll give you something to kind of keep you interested. When is he going to hold up one of these cards? Write it down. The true false multiple choice questions that are legitimate from the book on those quizzes will be worth 1 point apiece, and those cards that I hold up are worth 2 points apiece. So if you miss those 2 questions, that's 4 out of the 10 that you're going to miss. You're going to want to make sure that you use the videos that I give you. The participation updates, 7 different times during the semester I'm going to ask for some feedback on how things are going. In the first case, you're going to get with your partner and you're going to interact with him or her a little bit and get to know each other a little bit. And each one of you is going to submit a Dropbox where you say, this is something I learned about my partner. This is where I think we're going to work well together. This is something that I think that may cause a little bit of tension. It appears that they're good at this and I'm good at that, so we're going to mesh pretty well. They're not going to see what you turn in, and you're not going to see what they turn in. So be honest with me as you give me your feedback on number 1. And then the others, 2 through 7, are either going to be situations where we have a phone call one night, like 9 o'clock at night, and there'll be a call Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, maybe even Thursday. So you pick one of the 4, anyone that works well with your schedule. You dial into this thing through the link in our class. And there's 8 of us from the class talking about the class and what we're learning. So you get to interact with students in the class. Some of the calls are going to be just you and your partner. And you'll have a link that you can click on to go to, and the 2 of you will talk for 10 or 15 or 30 or whatever minutes about what's going on. I think I set one of those up as you're working on the questions that you're working on. So you can talk to each other about what kind of questions we want to ask or how we want to word this. There's a call in there where you're really just one last time testing your equipment before the interviews start to make sure that nothing's going to go wrong on your side, and you're just going to report back to me, we did this thing, here's what we found out, we're ready to go. And then there's a call at the very end after all the interviews are done where we're going to have the class together in 3 or 4 of these things during the week. Remember that in a week where there's a class call, there'll be either 3 or 4 calls, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday. You pick one of them. Not all 4 of them, just one of them. I'm going to be on all 4 of them. You pick one of them. And in that particular call, we're going to say, what was interesting about your interviews? What was frustrating? What went well? What didn't? And you'll be able to hear other people in their interviews and go, we had that same problem, or we were frustrated with this guy was late, or that guy didn't show up, or this guy just really didn't answer the question. And you're going to go, yeah, we had the same problem. And you'll begin to see how there are trends, there are commonalities in interviewing, and you'll be able to learn from each other. All right, so the participation updates, 10 points apiece. The recruitment plan, as I mentioned, I'll give you the job that you and your partner are going to work on, and you individually are going to say, okay, where would I go to find people for this? And you're going to write up a little summary of, there's like 25 or 30 different sources that you could go to, and you're going to pick several, a few of them that you think would be really good, and tell me why you think they're good. And you're going to pick a couple of them you think there's no way that I would use this one, and here's why. And you'll get graded based upon the completeness of it and how logical it is and so forth. 10% of your grade. You'll do it individually. The job description, you will also do, you'll work on individually, but you're going to want to get with your teammate, and they're going to be in groups of 2, and you'll want to agree on what this job description looks like. Now, I think that we're going to have 3 or 4 maybe groups of 2 that are each doing the same job, but you're going to work on your own job description, so your job description may look a little different from theirs. You'll give me a common document. Each one of you will submit your own Dropbox, but it'll be the same document for both of you that you've agreed upon. Worth 100 points. The interview tools, part of it is the questions that you're going to ask, part of it is the matrix that you're going to create, And each one of you, you'll work together to develop these things. Each one of you will submit the exact same document, but you will both submit a Dropbox for each of these things. And then the interviews. The 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, Monday through Friday, somewhere along the way, you're going to tell me what days and times that you're willing to do, let's say, a 45-minute appointment. And we will block that out. And when it comes time for the communication students to decide when they want to interview, they'll look at the times and the dates that you've set up, and they'll say, I want this one. I want Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. And hopefully they'll dress up in a coat and tie. You'll dress up in coat and tie, nice dress. No appearance is everything. No t-shirts on your part. Look professional so that we present a good image to them. You may have as part of your matrix, how did they look? So if they show up with without having taken care of themselves, t-shirts and whatnot, you may score them a 1 out of 5, which influences who you hire. But you'll set up either 4 or 5 different times over a 2-week period. Maybe on Saturdays, maybe Tuesday nights. You may have one every night so that you kind of give some feedback between them. You may do all 4 of them back to back to back to back. But you decide when. And we will let those students sign up for your interviews, and then you will communicate with them on how to get into the phone call. You'll get their resume and their cover letter, and then you'll follow up with them afterwards. But in the course of these 4 or 5, however many interviews, you'll make your notes. When it is all done, during the week of Thanksgiving, I want you to be thinking about which one of these 4 or 5 people would you actually hire. And you're going to submit a Dropbox when it's over with, where you tell me, these are the 4 people, 5 people I interviewed. Here's 2 things that I thought they did well. Here's 2 things that I thought that they could have done better on. And then you're going to tell me, here's my top 3 choices in order. I would hire this one. If that one said no, I'd go to this one. If that one said no, I'd go to this one. And you'll do that independently of your partner. You tell me the strengths and weaknesses on your own without talking to your partner. You'll tell me who you would hire without talking to your partner. But then at some point, you're going to talk with your partner and say, can we agree on this? And you might say, I would hire A, B, C in that order, but my partner, as we talk about it, think that B is the better option. I still think A is better, but I'd agree to hire B. So we come up with a consensus on who that is. And based upon the feedback that you give me and the completeness and the goodness of the ideas, you gave me some really good things that they did well, and you gave me some really good things that they could have done better. Try to avoid, there wasn't anything wrong. Find something, even if it's kind of minor, that they could do better on, because we want to give them this feedback so they can become better at what they do. They're also going to give me feedback on you, and that's part of your grade, is the feedback that they give me on you. They're going to grade you on a number of different things. When they've done with their interview, I'm going to send them a link to a survey, and they're going to fill it out, and it's going to have things like, how professional were you, how kind were you, how respectful were you, did the questions really seem to tie to the job description, was there anything discriminatory or illegal in there? And you'll get graded on that kind of stuff. I'll give you a copy of that beforehand so you kind of know how to prepare. That's 35% of your grade. And then there's 3 exams. You see here with the dates that they're going to be open, that generally they'll start at about 8 in the morning the first day, and they'll end the last appointment at like 7 p.m. the next day. And so anytime you want to, you'll make an appointment with ProctorU, you'll dial in, they'll do all the verification stuff, and then you'll have the test. Generally, you've got an hour to do the test. The first one, I think, is 50 questions. The second one is like 33 questions, and the third one is 25 questions. So they get a little bit easier as you go. The first one, with a lot more material, has to be a little bit more questions. Then bonus. All these things are going to be added together and weighted and whatnot, and we're going to come up with a final number, and then I'm willing to add 2 points to whatever that final number is. So if you've got an 88.5, and you do both of these things, you'll have basically a 90.5. The first one is to post a good picture of yourself in the profile picture of the class. You may have already done this before, but I want a brand new picture. And I want that picture to be just of your face. When you look at the class, I want it to look kind of like mine, where your face fills up the entire screen. I don't want you over here on the screen. I don't want you up in the top corner of the screen. I don't want you and your dog. I want your face. When you submit that to your profile, put a Dropbox that says done, and I'll look at it and I'll award the point, or I'll send you an email saying do it over again. The second point comes toward the end of the semester, the last half, when they release the evaluations for the course. At that point, you're going to go in, you're going to do the evaluation, and when you submit the thing, it should give you a screen that says, thank you for submitting your survey. Take a screenshot of that, post it to the Dropbox, and I'll give you a point for doing the course assessment. I won't know what you said, but I'll know that you did it because you'll give me that feedback. All right, to get an A, you got to have 90 points after the 2 bonus have been added, so really you got to have like an 88. But if you've got an 87.9 and I add in those 2 bonus points and you've got an 89.9, it's going to be my call as to whether you get an A or not. Generally, if you've been active in the semester, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and I'll round you up a little bit, but I'm already giving you 2 points. So you got to be active and convince me that you've earned that higher grade if you're borderline. All right, let's see here. That is almost all of the syllabus in terms of what we're expecting. Let's see what else I've got highlighted here. Oh, the question always comes up. You know, I was sick. I missed the quiz. I was planning to do it. I had technological problems. Scrolling down to page 7 here. Late assignments. Generally speaking, the assignments like the job description and whatnot that are in the form of drop boxes are due at 11:59 on Saturday night. So you got lots of time to work on them. Quizzes and exams are open for 2 days. Generally, they are the exams are 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. from one day to the second day. The quizzes are from 1 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. one day to the next day. You know on the syllabus what days they are, so block them off on your calendar. Let me encourage you not to try to take it late on the second day, because if you have problems with it, if the power goes out, you know, you've got it all planned on your schedule to take this quiz at 11 o'clock the second day and the power goes out, you're out of luck. And I may not be real interested in hearing your excuses because you had the ability to plan around that. I would suggest that you try to do it the first day, and then if you have a problem, you've got the second day to regroup. I will be willing to take things late, but usually I'm less interested after the fact. I had a problem, or I was sick, or mom was in the hospital, or whatever. If you know that ahead of time, you know, mom's going to be having surgery. I'm just letting you know I may have some problems. Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. I can let you take it early. I can extend it late, whatever, to work with you. But if you tell me after the fact, and I got to think back about it, I may not be quite as interested in letting you know whether it can be done or not. Check Georgia View at least once a day, maybe twice a day, because every now and then I'll throw an announcement out there that's kind of important that I didn't think about early. We don't really need Galileo for this class. You don't have papers or research or things like that, but in the event that you got to do a paper for another class and that teacher doesn't give you the password and so forth, from 8/14/17 through January 5th of 18, the password is person. Here's the standard disclaimer. I may have to change this. I will let you know. Don't anticipate anything right now. The only other thing to let you know, the important dates here. If you decide whether you have an idea now or not that you want to add something, you got to do it by Thursday the 17th. If you want to drop a class, by Monday the 21st. I have to tell them who's attending. I don't know what that date is yet. I'll let you know through an announcement on the homepage. We're at 33 minutes on this recording right now. I have to submit midterm grades Monday, October the 9th. The last day for you to withdraw without academic penalty is October the 27th. Remember that you don't drop. After that day, you withdraw. Let's see here. Final exams. There's a window that I'm putting my exam during that period. It is the 4th and 5th. I have to submit final grades if you're graduating. Congratulations to you. By 8 a.m. on December the 7th. Those of you who aren't graduating, I've got a couple extra days. Graduation on the 8th. And then here are the critical dates for our class when different major assignments are due. Go ahead and pencil those in on your calendar so that you're ready and available, and you'll have it, you'll know ahead of time. You know, I've got 4 more days to work on this. I got two weeks left to work on this. Hopefully that answers all of the questions that you have about the class. You're excited about it. It, as I said, is one of my very favorite classes because the process of interviewing the business communication students really opens a lot of students' eyes who say, I've interviewed for jobs before, but I've never been the one doing the interviewing. And now I've got a whole new perspective on this thing. And because we went through the process of creating the job description, of creating the questions, of creating the matrix, now I think I've got a pretty good handle on how to do this in real life, and I'll be able to step right into my role in human resources and do this well. If you have questions about the syllabus that I haven't answered here, I'm going to have, as I record this, still a couple of weeks before the semester starts, I'm going to have a discussion board set up in our class called Ask Dr. Grimes. You can post a message out there that I can reply. Everybody can see it, or you can send me an email either to GSW or through GoView. Or you can send me a text. All the information, the contact information is out there. I'm looking forward to a good semester. I'm looking forward to being able to interact with you on the phone calls periodically during the semester. I'm looking forward to seeing the great work that I know that you're going to do. And I hope that you are looking forward to it as well.